A Ford technician just quit on camera and told everyone exactly why he walked away from a job that supposedly pays $120,000 a year. And what he said should make every Ford owner in America nervous, because right now, there are thousands of service bays at Ford dealerships that have all the equipment, all the tools, everything except the one person who can actually fix your truck. This isn't coming from some random person on the internet. Ford's own CEO admitted on national media that they've got a massive problem. But when you hear what mechanics are actually saying, you realize the CEO's version is sugar-coated. The real story is way worse, and if you're making payments on a Ford right now, this directly affects you, because when your truck breaks down, and statistically it probably will, you might be in for a very long wait. Jim Farley, Ford's CEO, went on Yahoo Finance recently and said something that most executives would never admit publicly. He told them Ford has 6,000 empty service bays across their dealership network right now. These aren't bays that are missing equipment or waiting for parts. They've got lifts, diagnostic computers, specialty tools, everything. What they don't have is technicians. Farley said specifically, "As of this morning, we had 5,000 openings, a bay with a lift and tools and no one to work in it. 5,000 unfilled positions. That's not a small gap. That's a crisis. And if you own a Ford, that number should concern you, because it means when something breaks on your $65,000 F-150 or your $80,000 Expedition, you might be waiting a very long time to get it fixed. Not because the part isn't available, not because the repair is complicated, but because there's literally nobody there to do the work." Now, Farley tried to explain this away by saying these jobs pay really well, up to $120,000 annually, which is almost double what the median American household makes. So on the surface, it seems like a reasonable question. If the pay is that good, why aren't people taking these jobs? Farley blamed it on a cultural problem. He said people don't respect blue-collar work anymore, that there's a stigma around getting your hands dirty. But then mechanics started responding to his interview, and what they revealed tells a completely different story. A Ford technician named Wuther Ivanikov made a response video that went absolutely viral in the automotive community. He didn't need a long explanation. He just described one single repair job, and suddenly everything made sense. Ivanikov pretended to be a service manager. "Hey, we need you to replace an oil pan gasket on this F-250 Super Duty. It's under warranty. The job pays 0.6 hours. Oh, and you'll need to remove the cab from the frame to access it. Why aren't you interested?" Let me walk you through why that's completely absurd. When he says the job pays 0.6 hours, he's talking about something called flat rate pay. Ford has a book that says how long every repair should take. In this case, they've decided replacing an oil pan gasket takes 0.6 hours. That's 36 minutes. So the mechanic gets paid for 36 minutes of work. But to actually do this repair on a modern F-250, you can't just crawl underneath and swap the gasket. The oil pan is blocked by the front axle, exhaust components, and the frame itself. The only way to access it is to disconnect everything holding the cab to the frame, use a specialized lift to remove the entire passenger compartment, set it aside, then do the repair, then reverse the whole process. How long does that take in reality? Mechanics say anywhere from 6 hours to a full day, depending on how smoothly everything goes. And if you've ever worked on vehicles, you know things rarely go smoothly. Bolts seize. Wiring harnesses don't want to disconnect cleanly. Something always fights you. So do the math. You work for 8 hours. You get paid for 36 minutes. You just donated 7.5 hours of your time to Ford for free. Actually, worse than free, because you had to use your own tools that you paid for. Tools that probably cost you $40,000 or $50,000 to accumulate over the years. Would you do that job? No reasonable person would. And that's the real reason those service bays are empty. Another mechanic, a guy named Lance, made his own detailed response, and he exposed something even more calculated about that 6,000 empty bays number. Lance has been in the industry long enough to understand how dealerships and manufacturers think, and he says that number is deliberately misleading. He explained something called the one hoist rule. In corporate thinking, every lift represents potential profit. When they see a lift that's not being used, they see money they're not making. So in their minds, if there are 6,000 lifts without someone working at them full time, that's 6,000 missed opportunities for revenue. But here's what they're not telling you. A productive, efficient mechanic doesn't just work at one lift. Lance said when he was working at his peak, he needed access to at least 2 lifts, preferably 3. You need one for the job you're actively working on, and you need another for the next customer's vehicle so you're not wasting time waiting for the next job to arrive. That's how you maintain workflow. So when Farley says 6,000 empty bays, he's not actually saying there aren't enough mechanics. He's saying we want to extract more productivity from our existing workforce without giving them proper resources. Lance said he'd guarantee that every technician currently at Ford dealerships is already maxing out every lift they can access. Those bays aren't sitting empty because nobody wants to work. They're empty because Ford wants more profit without proper investment. Now, let's talk about why your specific truck might be sitting in a dealership parking lot for weeks or even months. There are 5 main reasons, and they all connect back to the same core problem. First, mechanics are deliberately avoiding warranty work. When your vehicle comes in under warranty, Ford decides what they'll pay based on their flat rate manual. If they say a job takes 2 hours, that's what you get paid, even if it takes you 6 hours in reality. So smart mechanics have figured out they need to prioritize customer pay jobs where they can charge for actual time spent. But here's the problem with that strategy. The majority of work coming into Ford dealerships right now is warranty work because Ford vehicles keep having problems. So you've got parking lots full of trucks that need warranty repairs, and you've got mechanics who know they'll lose money if they touch them. Your truck sits. Second, Ford issues more recalls than almost any other manufacturer year after year. They've earned a reputation in the industry as the recall king. There are 2023 Mustang Mach-E electric vehicles that have been sitting on some dealer lots for over 800 days because of stop sale orders. Ford can't even sell them because they haven't resolved the underlying issues. When you're constantly dealing with recalls and technical service bulletins, and all of that work pays at warranty rates that lose you money, mechanics burn out fast. Third, Ford completely redesigns their vehicles every 3 years or so. Components move, wiring routes change, bolt patterns are different, but the flat rate times don't get updated properly because technically it's the same platform. So a job that took you 2 hours when you've done it 50 times suddenly takes 5 hours because you're essentially learning it from scratch on the new design. But you're still getting paid for 2 hours. Every job becomes a money loser. Fourth, experienced mechanics are leaving the field entirely and telling young people not to follow them. Lance is only 35 years old, and he said if he could do it over again, he wouldn't have become a mechanic. He said he would have gone into heavy equipment or become an electrician instead. Think about that. A skilled tradesman with over a decade of experience is saying he regrets his entire career choice. His body's broken down from years of physical work. He's stressed about money despite working in a job that supposedly pays well, and he's not an isolated case. Experienced techs are leaving in large numbers, and they're actively warning the next generation to stay away. If you're getting value from this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future content. The 5th reason is that modern Fords are designed wrong from the start. Mechanics across the country say the same thing. These vehicles are optimized for assembly line speed, not for real-world serviceability. At the factory, components go together quickly, but 3 or 4 years later when something breaks, you have to disassemble half the vehicle just to reach one part. One mechanic said, engineers should be required to design vehicles that can actually be worked on, not just vehicles that build fast. Another one said, if every engineer had to spend 2 years working in a service department fixing what they designed, these problems would disappear immediately. Think about it. If every Ford engineer had to spend 24 months in a dealership bay, reaching into cramped spaces, dealing with sharp edges, trying to access bolts that are blocked by 3 other components, they'd design things differently. But when everything's optimized on a computer for manufacturing efficiency, nobody's thinking about the technician who has to service it years later. And by the time that becomes obvious, it's too late. Now, Ford publicly claims the average wait time for service is about 2 weeks, but mechanics are saying that number doesn't match reality. According to J.D. Power data, the average wait time across all automotive brands is roughly 1 week. Ford's own internal data from 2024 showed similar numbers, so where is this 2-week claim coming from? Mechanics think it's cherry-picked from northern states during seasonal tire changeover periods. Twice a year, for maybe 4 to 6 weeks total, everyone's trying to swap between winter and summer tires at the same time. Wait times spike during those windows. But that's not representative of the whole year, and it's definitely not representative of actual repair work. The reality is that many Ford owners dealing with significant warranty repairs aren't waiting 2 weeks, they're waiting months. And it's not because of parts availability, it's because there aren't enough people willing to work on their vehicles under the current system. And while you're waiting, your $1,200 or $1,500 monthly payment doesn't stop. Some dealerships provide loaner vehicles, but don't think that's out of generosity. They're required to maintain huge loaner fleets specifically because so many of their vehicles are in for extended repairs at the same time. Let's talk about why nobody wants to become a Ford technician in the first place. The path to becoming a qualified automotive technician starts with school, which costs anywhere from $30,000 to $200,000 depending on the program. You're taking on significant debt before you've earned your first paycheck. Then you need tools. Dealerships don't provide them. You're expected to buy your own. A professional toolbox with everything you need runs about $50,000. For the first several years, most techs are making $20 to $24 an hour while carrying all that debt. Compare that to someone who gets a job at Costco or Home Depot with zero education debt, making similar money, and with much faster paths to advancement into management or specialized roles. When you hear about those $120,000 technician salaries, understand that most people never get anywhere close to that number. It requires years of grinding, accumulating debt, and destroying your body. And even if you eventually make decent money, you're still losing money on warranty jobs. The elephant in the room here is Ford's quality problems. When you're spending $60,000, $70,000, or over $100,000 on an F-150, it shouldn't need major repairs in the first year. But that keeps happening. Look at the cycle Ford has created. They build vehicles with quality issues. Those vehicles need warranty repairs. Mechanics lose money fixing them. Skilled mechanics quit or avoid dealership work. There aren't enough people to fix vehicles. Your truck sits for weeks. You're making payments on something you can't drive. Ford's reputation suffers, and the cycle perpetuates itself. Every day, more mechanics quit. Every day, more Fords break down. Every day, more customers are left without transportation. And don't buy the narrative that mechanics are leaving because society doesn't respect blue-collar work. They're leaving because Ford dealerships don't respect them. Sales staff work in comfortable, air-conditioned offices and earn commissions. Mechanics work on concrete floors in extreme temperatures, under constant pressure to work faster, while generating the vast majority of the dealership's actual revenue. If every mechanic in America walked out for just 1 week, the repair industry would completely stop. That alone proves how essential they are. So why would they stay in an environment that blames them, overworks them, underpays them, and shows them zero respect? Here's another angle that doesn't get enough attention. Ford is charging luxury car prices for vehicles that many customers can't even get serviced reliably. Walk into a dealership right now. You'll have a hard time finding anything under $30,000. The lots are filled with trucks and SUVs in the $60,000 to $80,000 range, with plenty of F-150s over $100,000. To make these prices seem manageable, they're pushing 84-month loans, and some places are starting to offer 96-month financing. That's 8 years of payments. Your warranty will likely expire long before you've paid off the vehicle. And on top of the base price, some dealers are adding market adjustments and dealer profit fees, even when their lots are packed with unsold inventory. You're paying luxury prices for a vehicle that might spend significant time broken and waiting for repairs. Here's one more thing Ford does that sets owners up for problems down the road. They recommend 10,000-mile oil change intervals for small turbocharged engines. These engines work hard. They generate significant heat. The oil degrades faster under those conditions. Waiting 10,000 miles between changes, especially if you're towing or doing heavy-duty work, is pushing the limits. So why do they recommend such long intervals? Because it makes their maintenance costs look lower on paper. They can advertise reduced service visits and lower operating costs. But if that engine fails prematurely because you followed Ford's own maintenance schedule, they'll claim you didn't maintain it properly, and getting warranty coverage becomes a fight. So if you own a Ford right now, here's what you're facing. Your vehicle will likely need service at some point. Ford has more quality issues and recalls than most competitors. When something breaks, you could be waiting weeks or potentially months for repairs, not because of parts, because there simply aren't enough technicians, and many of them are actively avoiding warranty work. While your truck sits unfixed, your monthly payment continues. Loaner vehicles aren't guaranteed, and even dealerships with large fleets are stretched thin because so many Fords are in for repairs simultaneously. This situation isn't improving. More mechanics are quitting every day. Some industry estimates suggest the technician shortage could reach 1 million within the next 5 years. If you're thinking about buying a Ford, you need to seriously consider whether you're willing to accept these risks. You're not just buying a vehicle. You're buying into a system that might not support you when things go wrong. The solutions to all of this are actually pretty straightforward, but they would hurt short-term profits. Pay technicians fairly for the actual time jobs require. Design vehicles that can be serviced without requiring major disassembly for routine repairs. Provide tool allowances so technicians aren't starting their careers $50,000 in debt. Improve quality control instead of rushing vehicles to market. Treat mechanics with the respect they deserve since they keep the entire operation running. And switch warranty work from flat rate to hourly pay with minimum guarantees. But instead of addressing any of these issues, the industry just keeps blaming a labor shortage that they created through their own policies. Here's the bottom line. Those 6,000 empty service bays exist because Ford built a system that financially punishes the people who keep their dealerships operating. Technicians lose money on every warranty job, destroy their bodies over years of physical labor, go into debt before they even start earning, and get treated like they're expendable. Then they get blamed for not wanting to work. That $120,000 salary claim falls apart completely once you account for flat rate pay on warranty work, tool costs, education debt, and physical breakdown. Most techs never come close to that number. Until Ford makes fundamental changes to how they treat technicians, your vehicle is going to keep sitting unfixed at the dealership. No amount of CEO interviews or corporate statements will change that reality. Based on Ford's track record, you should expect longer wait times, more frustrated customers, and more mechanics leaving the industry every single day. I want to hear from you in the comments. If you're a Ford technician or used to be one, tell your story. What made you stay or what made you leave? And if you're a Ford owner dealing with service delays right now, share what you're going through. Hit that like button if this video gave you a different perspective. And make sure you subscribe because I'll keep covering what's really happening in the automotive industry. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.